I used to move through life like I was fighting something. Every step a negotiation with the ground. As if the world required my constant effort. As if ease was something I had not yet found. But I have been practicing the letting go of forcing, the slow release of needing it to be a certain way. And something is shifting in the way I move now, a fluency I didn't know was waiting here to stay. I move with grace, not because the path is easy. I move with grace because I've stopped insisting it should be. The struggle was not what the journey needed from me. The grace was always what the journey wanted me to see. I move with grace, unhurried, open. I move with grace. There is a difference between arriving and forcing arrival. Between the door that opens and the one you break. And I have spent too long at doors that weren't for opening, when the grace was in the turning and the choosing to create. But I have been practicing the letting go of forcing, the slow release of needing it to be a certain way. And something is shifting in the way I move now, a fluency I didn't know was waiting here to stay. I move with grace, not because the path is easy. I move with grace because I've stopped insisting it should be. The struggle was not what the journey needed from me. The grace was always what the journey wanted me to see. I move with grace, unhurried, open. I move with grace. Grace is not the absence of difficulty. Grace is the quality of how you meet it. The soft hand on the hard thing. The breath before the breaking of the limit. I move with grace. Fluid, free. I move with grace. I spent so many years believing I had to deserve it, that grace was the prize at the end of enough good behavior, that if I could just be sufficient, careful, worthy, then something would finally arrive to save her. But grace does not wait for the right conditions. It does not check the record before it comes. Grace is the nature of what is holding everything, not a reward for the deserving ones. Grace is not earned. It cannot be achieved or merited. Grace is not earned. It is what the ground is made of underneath. You do not have to be perfect for grace to find you. You do not have to be ready for grace to hold. Grace is not earned. It is already yours. It was never not yours to hold. Does not earn the air that lifts it. The river does not merit the slope it follows down. And I was never meant to earn the grace I'm living in. It was never mine to lose, never mine to found. But grace does not wait for the right conditions. It does not check the record before it comes. Grace is the nature of what is holding everything, not a reward for the deserving ones. Grace is not earned. It cannot be achieved or merited. Grace is not earned. It is what the ground is made of underneath. You do not have to be perfect for grace to find you. You do not have to be ready for grace to hold. Grace is not earned. It is already yours. It was never not yours to hold. For the grace I thought I needed, I stopped running the calculation in my head, because the grace was not at the end of the striving. It was in every single ordinary step instead. Thought that grace meant never stumbling, that the graceful one moved without a fall. But the most graceful thing I've ever witnessed was the woman who got up after all. And the fall itself can carry grace within it, the way the leaf does not resist the ground, the way the wave releases at the shoreline. making the most beautiful sound. The graceful fall is still grace. The graceful fall is still the most alive way to move through what comes. Not the absence of the stumble or the breaking, but the quality of presence in the falling undone. The graceful fall is where I practice. The graceful fall is grace. I have fallen in ways that were not elegant, in ways that left me unsure of what I was. But I kept the grace inside the getting up, and the falling was not loss, but what the lesson was. And the fall itself can carry grace within it, the way the leaf does not resist the ground, the way the wave releases at the shoreline, making the most beautiful sound. The graceful fall is still grace. The graceful fall is still the most alive way to move through what comes. Not the absence of the stumble or the breaking, but the quality of presence in the falling undone. The graceful fall is where I practice. The graceful fall is grace. So I release the need to make it seamless. I release the need to have it all composed, because the grace was never in the perfect landing. It was in the open heart of one who chose. The graceful fall, still grace, still beautiful. The tree that survives the storm is not the hardest. It is the one that learned to bend and sway. The branch that holds against the breaking wind is not the strongest one. It is the one that gives way. And I have been so rigid in my holding, so certain that the armor was the strength. But the softest things outlast the hardest ones, and the grace lives in the giving, not the length. grace. Water does not force its way through stone. It simply finds the places that will yield. And the smallest stream that keeps its softness moving shapes the canyon that the ages finally reveal. And I have been so rigid in my holding, so certain that the armor was the strength. But the softest things outlast the hardest ones, and the grace lives in the giving, not the length. Soft enough to bend and not be broken, soft enough to move with what is moving through. The strength that I was trained to wear like armor was not the kind of strength that carried me through. Soft enough to bend, soft enough to open, soft enough to live with grace. I practice the softening of every held place, the loosening of what has been too long locked. Because the grace that I have been seeking has been waiting on the other side of soft, soft enough to bend. Strong enough to open, soft enough for grace. I used to think that grace looked like a cathedral, that it arrived in gold and soaring light. But grace came to me in the ordinary morning, when I chose kindness, when I could have chosen spite. It looked like the pause before the angry word, like the breath I took instead of the reaction, like the moment I decided not to carry it, and the quiet, unremarkable satisfaction. What grace looks like is the moment you chose better. What grace looks like is the forgiveness no one saw. The quiet work of being who you wanted, the unglamorous undoing of the flaw. What grace looks like is the ordinary morning, when you rose again, and that was all. It looked like my mother making dinner without complaining, while holding more than I had words to name. It looked like the woman in the checkout line who smiled at the person who was doing just the same. It looked like the pause before the angry word, like the breath I took instead of the reaction, like the moment I decided not to carry it, and the quiet, unremarkable satisfaction. What grace looks like is the moment you chose better. What grace looks like is the forgiveness no one saw. The quiet work of being who you wanted. The unglamorous undoing of the flaw. What grace looks like is the ordinary morning when you rose again, and that was all. Not the arrival in the light-filled room, not the perfect moment that the cameras catch. Grace is the unglamorous daily choosing and the beauty of the life that you attach. What grace looks like is this moment, just this. I have been far harder on myself than I would be on anyone I loved who made the same mistakes. I gave them grace for what I gave myself, a sentence, and held myself to standards no one else should have to take. What if I could turn the grace I give so freely back toward the one who needs it most of all? What if the grace that I have offered out so easily was always also meant for me to call? I forgive myself with grace, same grace I would give another. I forgive myself with grace, not excusing but releasing, letting go. The version of myself who made those choices was doing what she could with what she knew. I forgive myself with grace, and I let the one I was finally move through. The weight of my own judgment is the heaviest thing I've carried, heavier than any since I have served inside my own heart has lasted far beyond the length the crime could justify to place. But what if I could turn the grace I give so freely back toward the one who needs it most of all? What if the grace that I have offered out so easily was always also meant for me to call? I forgive myself with grace, the same grace I would give another. I forgive myself with grace, not excusing but releasing, letting go. The version of myself who made those choices was doing what she could with what she knew. I forgive myself with grace, and I let the one I was finally move through. She deserved better and I couldn't give it then, and I am giving it to her now, late but real. And the grace that moves between us in this moment is the most honest, most complete way I can heal. I forgive myself with grace, with kindness. I forgive. There is a breath I have been holding for so long I forgot that I was holding it at all. The shoulders up, the jaw that never fully loosens, the constant brace for an imagined fall. But the body knows when it is safe to soften, when the danger that it feared has passed or changed. And somewhere in the practice of releasing, I find the grace that lives in the unclenched. The long exhale, the full release of what I've been carrying. The long exhale, the breath that finally lets the holding go. Not the ending of the journey or the struggle, but the rest that grace extends between the blows. The long exhale, I breathe out years. The long exhale, I let it go. I did not know how much I was contracted, how much of me had pulled in tight against the world, until I practiced the opening of the breathing and felt what was inside begin to unfurl. But the body knows when it is safe to soften, when the danger that it feared has passed or changed. And somewhere in the practice of reality, grace extends between the blows. The long exhale, I breathe out years. The long exhale, I let it go. Breathe out the needing to be certain. Breathe out the holding yourself together tight. Breathe out the years of being your own warden, and breathe in the grace that was always right. The long exhale, release, release the long exhale. Anyone can be graceful in the easy moments, when the sun is out and nothing asks too much. The practice of the grace is in the pressure, when everything is asking for too much. And I have met the moments that undid me, the ones where I became the thing I feared, where the grace I thought I had was purely weather, and when the storm came, it was nowhere near. Grace under pressure is the practice, not the performance. Grace under pressure is the choice you make when nothing makes it easy. The version of yourself you reach for in the difficult, the breath before the word that you could use. Grace under pressure is the most honest kind of grace. It is the grace that you can actually use. And I have failed at this so many times it counts, have let the pressure make me hard and small. But failure at the practice is still practice, and the grace is also in the getting up from the fall. And I have met the moments that undid me, the ones where I became the thing I feared, where the grace I thought I had was purely weather, and when the storm came, it was nowhere near. Grace under pressure is the practice, not the performance. Grace under pressure is the choice you make when nothing makes it easy. The version of yourself you reach for in the difficult, the breath before the word that you could use. Grace under pressure is the most honest kind of grace. It is the grace that you can actually use. inside it and following it all the way through to the feet. Grace under pressure, still grace, still you. I have been so focused on the grace I'm trying to embody that I forgot to feel the grace that holds me here, the grace that kept me through the seasons I could not survive alone, the grace that was the ground when I was fear. And there is something different about resting into being held than striving to be graceful on your own. The grace that carries me is not a quality I'm building. It is the nature of the world I'm living in, the home. I am held with grace, not by my own effort. I am held with grace by something older, wider, deeper than my will. The love that keeps the stars in their positions is the same love that is holding me still. I am held with grace, completely, tenderly. I am held with grace. The child does not maintain her own heartbeat. The bird did not design the wing that lifts her flight. And I am carried by a grace I did not author, through the long day and the even longer night. And there is something different about resting into being held than striving to be graceful on your own. The grace that carries me is not a quality I'm building. It is the nature of the world I'm living in, the home. I am held with grace, not by my own effort. I am held with grace by something older, wider, deeper than my will. The love that keeps the stars in their positions grace that I have always been inside of. In the held, I am held with grace. Always held. Always grace. You have come so far. You freed yourself and you found your peace. You healed. You remembered you were enough. You opened to connection. You chose to trust. You rose. You let yourself shine. You bloomed. You recognized your wholeness. And now, in the fullness of everything you are, you move with grace. Not because the path became easier, not because you stopped falling, not because you finally got it right, but because you stopped fighting what is, because you learned the softness that outlasts the storm, because you discovered that grace was never something to earn. It was always the ground you were standing on. Grace is not a destination. It is a quality of presence. It is the breath before the word, the pause before the choice, the way you rise from the fall, the kindness you extend to yourself in the difficult moment. You have been practicing grace your entire life. Every time you chose better than you felt. Every time you forgave more than you thought you could. Every time you got back up. That was grace. That is grace. That will always be grace. You are grace. This is not the end of the practicing. The practice of grace has no final day. But there is something in the knowing it is possible that changes how I walk along the way. Grace, the way the river moves without resistance. Grace, the way the breath arrives and leaves again. I carry all of this into the living and meet each moment with a softer hand. Grace, I was always capable of grace. I bring the whole of everything I've learned into the ordinary hours that remain. And what I bring is not perfection, but a willingness to meet it all with grace again and again. Grace, the way the river moves without resistance. Grace, the way the breath arrives and leaves again. I carry all of this into the living and meet each moment with a softer hand. Grace, I was always capable of grace. Every album in this series was a practice. Every song a room I needed to walk through. And the grace I find arriving at the ending was the grace that carried me the whole way through. Grace, always practicing. Grace, grace, you were always grace.